Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital. Now before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Can you build a cabin for only $15,000? Tim and Jonas did, complete with a sauna. Want to see their prefab retreat? I'll show you at the end of this video. But first, if you are thinking of building your own home or cabin, prefab may be the way to go. It's economical and fast. So if your interest is piqued, here are the top things you should know about prefab homes. Number 1, prefab homes are manufactured off-site in advance, shipped, and then assembled on-site. They are built in a factory in components, modules, or transportable sections, thus reducing both the cost and length of time it takes to complete the overall structure. Number 2, prefab is a bit of an umbrella term and can cover several different kinds of homes. The most common kind of prefab home is a manufactured home, although I will note that manufactured homes are often classified as their own typology and are usually not called prefab homes, even though they are prefabricated. I'm sure you are familiar with manufactured homes already, but these are homes that are fully constructed and assembled off-site and then are transported to the site where they are placed on foundations and connected to utilities. Modular homes are an increasingly common type of prefabricated home. These are homes that are built in pieces, also known as modules, which are assembled on a factory off-site and delivered to the home site for assembly. There are also panelized homes. These are homes built from panels that are constructed in a factory and then sent to the site. Thus, a panelized home is not really a fully prefab house, but rather a construction system using prefabricated elements. And finally, there are kit homes. These were fairly common back in the 50s and 60s, and you may remember or have heard of Sears homes, which is one of the famous examples. But kit homes are still very much around today. These sorts of homes are exactly what they sound like. They are ready-cut houses composed of pre-made pieces that are shipped to the site for assembly by the homeowner. Number 3, if you do a quick Google search, you will find that there is a lot of buzz around prefab homes, and this is because they have a number of benefits. They are generally more affordable than site-built homes because the factory production process reduces the amount of labor and material required to build all the home's pieces. In addition, the factory production process also allows the entire home to be built faster than a standard site-built home. This also helps to reduce the cost. Prefab homes are often considered to be more energy efficient than site-built homes because the oversight at the factory allows every component to generally have very tight joints and seams. More energy efficient, prefab homes do have flexible design options as well because they are built in standard components. They're a bit like a plug-and-play design where you can move around the different components to get different layouts and sizes. As I mentioned earlier, the factory process allows for consistent quality in the craftsmanship. The entire prefab construction process can reduce waste. And finally, some reports show that prefab homes have better quality ventilation systems, and many companies choose to use materials that emit less VOCs, which overall improves your indoor air quality. Number 4. If you are buying a new prefab home, you may need to finance it with a construction loan. And this is because the prefab home is going to be considered a construction process. You'll have to buy a parcel of land, have the materials shipped to the land, and then finally assemble the home on site. I'm not going to go into too much detail about construction loans, but they do require a higher down payment and may also have more stringent credit score requirements. So keep this in mind if you are buying land in order to put a prefab home on it. Having said all this, if you are purchasing an existing prefab home, you will likely be able to obtain a regular residential mortgage. You may also look into a chattel mortgage, which is a loan on a movable property that is often used to purchase boats or manufactured homes. Number 5, prefab home prices vary widely. As I mentioned, they do tend to be cheaper than site-built homes. However, having said this, if you do a quick search, you will see that there are many high-end prefab options these days. Also keep in mind that if you are buying a new prefab home, you are not just paying for the home itself, but also for the cost of the land, utility connections, site prep, permits, and often also the site-built foundation. Number 6. Most providers will sell packages for prefab homes that are of fixed dimensions. But as I mentioned earlier, prefab is a bit of a plug-and-play system, so you do have some flexibility and can modify the floor plan layout and fixtures to meet your needs. But you'll want to discuss all this with the company that you select. In addition, if you have a larger budget and are looking for a high-end house, you can craft a bespoke prefab home from scratch using much the same process you would with a standard home. In this case, you would simply hire an architect, and they will then coordinate with the modular or prefab panel company to obtain all the materials necessary for construction. And finally, number 7, prefab homes can be a good investment. Just because they are prefabricated doesn't mean that they are worth less than a site-built home. But whether this is the case or not really depends on the specifics of the home in question. And I've heard Dave Ramsey say something along the lines of, if a home looks like you could pick it up and move it, it is likely not going to appreciate or have the same kind of long-term value as a home that seems to be permanent. But keep in mind that some of the biggest issues with prefab homes revolve around the quality of the materials and how well the home has been connected to the foundation, as well as how well the site has been prepped to ensure that there are no drainage or settlement issues. But let's return to Tom and Jonas's cabin. The two friends were architecture students in Germany when they decided to try their hand at building their own cabin. Not having much money, they had to find a way to make it as cheap as possible. So they elected to pre-construct the 17 frames their cabin would need themselves in their grandparents' barn. The students also elected to use recycled newspaper for insulation covered by pine plywood sheets. The cabin has no electricity or running water, but does have 2 small wood-burning stoves, one of which heats a small sauna. To reduce the costs of the foundation, they use concrete-filled steel pipes embedded in bedrock, which also reduces the cabin's footprint on the natural landscape. Altogether, the cabin cost just under $13,500, the bulk of which went toward paying for windows. And if they can do it, so can you. But if constructing a cabin from scratch seems like a bit too much, there are also many companies that sell prefab cabin kits or fully made prefab cabins for under $50,000. Here's just one example. So if you have a dream of buying land and building your perfect retreat, it's well within reach. Go out and make your own. But do you have any stories about building a prefabricated home or cabin? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.